Good morning, everyone. Today's Thursday, April 26, 2023, and we're here for a work session, and as always, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Frank, can you please take the lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Frank. We don't have any announcements today, so we're going to go right into our first discussion, which is matters surrounding an update to the IDA application process. And I just want to make a note that I know there's a lot of interest in what's going on, and the IDA is a separate entity from the town of Riverhead. They have their own state regulations, and they have to follow their process. If not, they are part of us, and they actually are a separate entity. They don't even operate within our town hall, and they have their own process. And so we're here. I know that on
Thursday.
March 23rd, there was an email that went out to the board saying that they're still doing the due process and that what they were waiting for, and there was a time date. So the entire board has received that. I know that I've been working with Tracy for her to come here just to explain the entire process to our residents. And I know you had a death in the family and you were sick, and even through that, we were still working, and thank you for moving it up from May 1st to today, because that was always in the works. I know last Tuesday it was, where is it, and send them a letter, and to me it appeared like it was gonna be a subpoena, the board will sign it, and we're gonna send it all to the IDA. I was like, what are we subpoenaing an interagency? So that's not gonna happen, and I appreciate you taking the time and moving it up to today. And we look forward for you to inform us and the public as to where you stand. And so Tracy, you wanna come up and just lead with this, please?
All you guys will come.
Good morning.
Good morning. Jim Farley, our chairman. Lori Ann Pipchinsky, our vice chair. Millen Tyler from Phillips Lytle is our transaction counsel on this transaction.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for inviting the agency here. I know you've been faced with a lot of questions, so we're happy to provide you with an update. As you said, I know you've been reaching out, and we spoke in March, but as you'll learn today, I'm going to present an outline as to where we are, where we were, where we are, and then I'll allow our counsel to bring us forward. I do appreciate your understanding and respect of my privacy during that time. So starting with the timeline of this process and the application, a presentation, as you know, was made to the agency by CAT and the Town of Riverhead CBA in September, and the board accepted the application to undertake preliminary due diligence with respect to the project. Unfortunately, October press coverage raised some concern about a conflict of interest with the agency's counsel. And due to that perception of conflict of interest in the community, and out of an abundance of sensitivity to the community and those concerns, the agency felt engaging a separate firm was warranted to avoid any perceived prejudice. This was done despite receiving reassurances that there was no conflict of interest. It may have seemed like it took an extended period of time, but an IDA transaction counsel and this project in particular required a specialized ability, and to find a firm also that had cross-disciplinary approach to nationwide and had nationwide offices, particularly as it relates to secret process, IDA, experience in configuring innovative financing arrangements for public infrastructure, and that didn't have a conflict of interest, was not an easy task, but we were able to perform it expeditiously and cautiously. Nevertheless, hiring new counsel did delay this 4 or 5 months, because as you'll see, by December 21st, we did hire new counsel. We had to amend the preliminary agreement, and that was done. The agency then, and executed it, the agency then received the first deposit on February 8th, and we weren't able to confirm that the town received their deposit until March 9th. First couple of months in 2023, we needed to bring the new council up to speed on the history, on the project, what we needed, what we foresaw. This, by the way, was also during the agency's reporting period. So there were reasons for delays and postponements of meetings. Beginning of March, the application review letters were being sent to both the applicants for additional information, as you alluded to earlier in the meeting. And it's now April 26th, second requests have gone out, which is typical during a project review process. And we are waiting on that information with the parties both made aware that in order to continue our due diligence, this information was necessary. Therefore, we're on hold until we receive more information. We are processing what we have. We are doing our own due diligence with collecting information that we find necessary that doesn't come from an applicant, and preparing to review the rest of the documentation. And with that, I will let Millen explain the agency process and what's going to happen going forward.
Just because you talked about a timeline, so before, like, why does it take from you getting a letter in February 8th and the funds deposited February 8th and the town getting it to confirm a month later, March 9th? Like, I'm concerned about, it just seems that things are going extremely slow. Like, so why does it take a month just to confirm that we received a deposit of funds?
My understanding from speaking with the applicant's counsel, when I say applicant, I mean CAT, even though technically the applicant is the CDA and CAT, is that there was some question about the wire transfer instructions, and we did reach out to the CDA a time or two and never got an answer. So that took a while. It's not that we did nothing in the interim, but we did not want to finalize the preliminary agreement until we knew that the CDA had their money. Because if the CDA didn't get their money, and by money I mean the preliminary agreement provides that the applicant will deposit funds with the IDA and with the CDA to cover all of their costs. So we didn't want to go forward until we knew that both the IDA was covered for their costs as well as the CDA. So while we were progressing and asking for due diligence and talking to the applicant's counsel, we didn't want to get too far down the road until we knew that the applicant had done what they're supposed to do vis-a-vis the CDA. Is that responsive?
No, I was more like, I'm calling this particular office and I'm not getting an answer. It's like, why does it take a month just to confirm a deposit of funds? That's like a simple
Our
question.
agency made calls to several departments in the town, and we awaited responses.
Yeah, I don't want to,
okay.
throw anybody under the bus or get there, but it took a little while to do that. My understanding is that there was some confusion between the CDA and the applicant as to what the wire instructions were, because at one point the applicant said, oh, we think we sent it, or it got bounced back, or
We
there
got
was some confusion, but
We got confirmation that it was received, and then as a follow-up, just to reconfirm, it was not received, so.
I would just like updates, knowing that. I mean, we as a town board have been kept in the dark on this whole thing. And I think if we get periodic updates from the IDA, it would be most helpful for us. So when we're sitting up there and we're faced by questions from the public, we have some sort of answer we can give.
and certainly a fair
I would ask
request.
for a more routine or more regular update from the IDA.
Can the IDA come to the first work session of every month and give us a continuous update?
In theory, we can. I would defer to the board. Although, isn't there a liaison that, because I thought that there was a process that was supposed to be set up.
Yes, we do. Bob.
Yeah, if you guys want to give me a report.
Bob,
I can
Bob is,
report.
and that's, who should have been also, and you know the process.
Yeah, but you said
So-
it's just went on your website this past week.
That went up yesterday.
Oh,
And
yesterday.
I'm literally,
We got it Thursday.
Oh, you got it Thursday, okay, so I think there's some
we can get it.
confusion, it's dated
Yeah.
April 6th, that's why, yeah.
Yeah, we got it a couple days later, and at least my copy still says, oh, yours doesn't. the draft that I got said confidential, and it's dated
That's the original.
April 6th. This is the
what got
original.
amended.
There were some things in here that they said were confidential. We went back to Kat and said, well, that's great. What we want is a version that we can make public, right? So this one that we got on around April 6th has things in it that we and the applicant believe should not be made public. You know,
So
proprietary.
the date should just be different on this?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so
I
the
don't
dates
think
We're,
they're updated.
Yeah, may I-
all due
may I
respect,
just make a
we're
comment
getting
here?
it from Riverhead Local and not from you. And I think
Yeah, that's the problem for us.
Right, I think so, and I agree, and especially with this liaison and maybe the takeaway.
Well,
for me-
Bob is the liaison,
Oh,
the
okay.
supervisor,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
we're aware now, and,
Okay.
and he
Okay.
understands the IDA very well.
And I just want to say, there's one person disseminating information to the entire community. It's as fast as I can do it. And feeling pressure from the community to get the information up, I threw it up to my IT guy, who usually takes a week, and I knew we were coming here, it got up. I mean,
All respect, I think the board should have gotten this before the public.
absolutely.
Well, actually, I'm not sure about that, because there's a bit of confusion here, and Millen can probably speak to it better, but keep in mind that you're also the board of the CDA. You're the board of the applicant. There's a dual application here. So it's a little bit peculiar for us to
Right.
be called here by the same very people who are actually representing the other applicant in the matter to address their co-applicant's materials. If you're not up to date on what your co-applicant is doing, I'm not exactly sure whether we're supposed to be giving you this information or whether you should be in conversation with your co-applicant.
Well, did the
So, I mean-
co-applicant get this yet? When this came out, it went up on the website, did the co-applicant, meaning the CDA, did they get a copy of this to distribute to us? Okay.
I don't think that we know.
Okay, so I think we
But with all
cleared
due
this
respect,
issue.
Not
Right.
from my office.
Your
Right.
communication is
Not
with
from my office.
your
Okay.
co-applicant, CAT.
Yeah,
So I didn't realize that our role was to facilitate that the two co-applicants get informed of what the other applicant is doing.
that's a good point.
With all due respect.
Yeah.
And to Jim's point, I did actually have to seek legal advice as to whether we could even come before the town board, because this is an unusual circumstance where the municipality is also an applicant. But because the CDA is a different entity, even though it's the same board, he felt that it was okay to come before the town board. And we don't go before applicants and give them updates. So it's unusual. But we've cleared that up now, so now we know.
I was going to go through describing what the normal IDA process is. I'm not sure if you want me to do that or you're familiar
Yes.
with the way things go. Okay,
Yes.
so typically, and this is not typical, and sort of I'll explain in a couple seconds why I think this is not typical, starts with a phone call. Either a broker or a business or a developer calls the IDA, says, hey, I've got this project, I think I need financial help. Tracy talks with them, vets the process. Some applications stop right then and there. Sorry, we can't help you. Sorry, I don't think my board is going to be interested. You know, you're on your own. Assuming that's not the case, Tracy then gets a draft application, looks at it, may reach out to the board chair, may reach out to council to say, is this an appropriate thing to do? Are there any issues there? Once she gets the application, she then distributes it to the IDA board, and the IDA typically has a preliminary resolution accepting the application and agreeing to move forward. And it's at that point that all of the due diligence is started, consultants are engaged, and that sort of process starts. If there are no, and council is involved at that point, if there are no reasons that it can't go forward or shouldn't go forward, there's a legal reason or a business reason that it just doesn't make sense, a public hearing will be held. Public hearing is on certified mail return receipt notice to all the affected tax jurisdictions. It's published in the local newspaper, and it is posted on the IDA's website. So in theory, everyone, at least has opportunity to know about the public hearing. I would say maybe 9 out of 10 times, no one appears at the public hearing. Obviously, there's some high-profile projects like this one where there will be people, I suspect, that come to the public hearing when we have it. If there are no other issues raised at the public hearing, and the executive director believes that all of the processes have been accomplished. SECRA, there's environmental review. Tracy has to be able to assure the board that the but-for test is met. But for the IDA's financial assistance, there's a substantial likelihood that the project would not go forward. I want to talk about that later in terms of this particular deal, because it's a little narrow window between the two. If all that happens, it comes back to the IDA board. Again, this is at a public IDA board meeting, and the IDA approves the resolution, including the exact financial assistance that is being given. Then the lawyers get involved again, we draft the documents and close. That typically takes, I don't know, maybe 2, usually 3 to 5, maybe 6 months is the sort of normal process. It could be condensed probably down into 6 weeks, but just given calendars and everything else, that's sort of standard. Here, what I think makes this project very different, and why that time frame and that process really is being amended, is this is a huge project. Right? It is just transformative. It's probably one of the largest in the state. It's probably the largest that Riverhead has done maybe ever. That sort of warrants, to me, taking the time and effort to make sure that it's done correctly. So it's just going to take longer just because it's so big, there's so many phases, there's so many facets to it. Here also, because of the issue with not being able, for the town not being able to do the subdivision, we have the complicating factor, and again, tell me if I'm either going too fast or too slow, but we have the complicating factor that the real estate structure is going to be that the CDA conveys title to the IDA. The IDA then issues ground leases to the CDA and to CAT for their respective portions of the 600 acres. And then CAT will lease back to the IDA, and then the IDA leases back to CAT before CAT then can do subleases and or sub-subleases below that. So we have the additional structuring issue of having a ground lease that presumably will convert to fee title back to the CDA and CAT when the subdivision is accomplished. As Jim mentioned, there's a small complication that the CDA is a co-applicant. And as Tracy mentioned, even though the CDA is different legally from the town, that does sort of add a wrinkle, because we now have 2 applicants, one of whom is another public body, and all of you are board members of the CDA. And probably the last, and I think most complicating factor in terms of where we are exactly right now, is the requirement from the town to ask the IDA to review the financial viability of the project. Typically, the IDA would not do that. Typically, the IDA evaluates whether or not, but for the financial assistance, the project would not go forward. So the IDA typically sort of looks at it from the other perspective. You know, is this project on the margins enough that they need our help in order to make it work? In this case, the IDA is sort of doing both. It's evaluating that this project could probably go forward and will probably work. And yet on the other hand, but for the IDA financial assistance, it wouldn't work. So to me, the way I look at it is this project sort of right there in the middle? It'll probably work, but it needs the IDA financial assistance to work. And that's sort of right in the middle, and we don't know yet, because we're still in the middle of doing due diligence. So the status, as Tracy mentioned, we've signed a preliminary agreement. We have the deposit. The CDA has their deposit so that they can hire outside counsel or any other consultants. We are gathering due diligence. We've made a couple requests to the applicant and to the CDA, and both owe us information back. The first round of information is mostly in this business plan. There's some other corporate documents and things that aren't very important that they've given to us. We're now asking to drill down on this. Right? We're looking at each of these aspects. And in particular, what we're trying to do is check the financial viability. you know, how much equity, how much debt, what's the source of the equity, what's the source of the debt, you know, what does the pro forma look like, how is a bank going to evaluate it, what are the leasing and rental assumptions, and we're getting all of that. I guess I want to caution the board and the public in general, a lot of that information will be confidential and proprietary. I think for good reasons, CAT is likely, and they've already told us they're going to, ask that some of it not be subject to FOIL. They don't want to, you know, project to the world how much rent they think they're going to get, right? If they tell the world, we're expecting $6 a foot, then they can't really ask anyone to pay $8 a foot. So some of it will be confidential. We have been talking to the applicant about how much can be, and this is a good example. They gave us one business plan that was confidential. We asked them to scrub it, if you will, into a version. You see, mine's not much bigger than yours, so they didn't take much out. And I suspect the same thing is going to be true on the financial information. There will be some things that we can post on the website, some that will be kept confidential. When we get that information, then, I think only then, can we hire the consultants that we're going to need to evaluate it. Because I'm not in a position to look at a financial statement or anything along those lines. And while many of the board members are sophisticated enough to do that, I think it's proper for the ID to hire consultants to give us advice. That really is sort of a gating issue from our perspective, because we then have to tell the town, yay or nay. We do or do not believe that there's financial viability here. If the answer is yay, then they've met the requirement under the purchase agreement. If the answer is nay, then it's back to the town board. What do you want to do with your contract? So it could stop right there. If it doesn't, then we continue on with the rest of our process. And that's going to be, I think, another, I don't want to say difficult, but it could well be a long process. This is a 10 million square foot project, up to 10 million. Only the first million square feet is really fleshed out at this point. So negotiating, determining what, if any, financial assistance the IDA should be given and will be given, I think is going to be a long process. If I was to guess, I would say 6 to 8 months. But please don't hold me to that if we're here next April and sitting here again talking about it. And I guess I want to mention that time frame, because there's been some local press about the auditors of the IDA saying, oh, we think that this is going to close in October. That may have come from me, because the auditors asked the IDA, well, you know, what's on the agenda, right? You have financial issues, so what's coming up? And Tracy probably asked me, and I said much the same thing, 6 to 8 months. So the October date, where some people are wondering if it's supposed to coincide with November and the elections, that's, both of those are just sort of my picking a number out of the air. I think 6 to 8 months. It could be, if I had to guess, best case 2 or 3 months, but it could well drag out a whole lot longer, right? This process has been ongoing with the town for years and decades. And I will tell you that my advice to the IDA and to the board is you shouldn't rush into anything. This process has been ongoing. It ought to be a mature, professional, deliberate process. And, you know, better to go too slow than too fast. You know, the criticism that I hear statewide is IDAs rush into things, right? You snuck this through in the middle of the night, nobody had a chance to do anything, and, you know, now here we are. So I appreciate that the board and the citizens of Riverhead want to see what's going on, but it's going to be a long process. There's an awful lot of moving parts. It is a huge, huge process.
So, I have a question. A lot of people believe the word co-applicant means that we are just equally involved and have the rights to everybody's records and speak about it. First of all, we're in contract we have to be careful what we put out, and that's an aggravating factor here. As a real estate agent, I'm aware, you cannot talk about, you shouldn't be in the press, you shouldn't be, if you're in contract, that's again, an aggravating factor. And then so that's something that people should know. And we also have to consider, co-applicant doesn't mean that we both we're a town, they have to provide to us, or actually to you guys, that this is a viable project and it meets what the state standards and regulations are. We don't need to do that. The reason we are co-applicants are because we own the land. That's the only specific reason. Am I correct, or?
Agreed, understood, and we're on the same page. It is a complicating factor, I think, on both sides,
It
right?
is.
You know, you have a contractual relationship with CAT,
Right.
but from the IDA's perspective, you are co-applicants, and I agree, you are co-applicant, not because the CDA is going to receive financial assistance, which is what most applicants come to us for, but the fact that you own the property, and it is sort of, I don't want to say odd, but, you know, the complicating factor is that you have privity of contract with your co-applicant. And then at the end of the day, what's going to happen is, sort of oddly, the IDA will take fee title and then lease back to the CDA the very property that you've now given to us, at least until the subdivision happens. So one of the things we're going to have to do is, you know, sort of negotiate that ground lease and the provision for when you get title back, because it's really a portion is the CDA's property, not the IDA's property.
And the one thing that I think has to be made clear, and this is something that I negotiated with my office, was that we wanted, if this doesn't work out or they don't be part of the IDA process, it's not approved, that we can walk away from the contract. So that was something that was made clear, that was in addendum. And on top of that, we also, that CAT was gonna absorb the expenses of this project. It's way too long. We spend thousands, probably $300,000-$400,000 on CAT alone, and the taxpayers should not pay for that. And so we made sure, and so has that process taken place? It's not costing the town anything to process this application through the IDA, is that correct?
That is correct, and in fact, that's what I was speaking about before, that the preliminary agreement provides for a deposit to the IDA to pay its consultants, starting with me and then going to accountants and other financial advisors when we get there. And there's a separate pot of money that has been sent to the CDA, and Dawn has acknowledged receipt of it, for the CDA to pay for its advisors. And this works sort of as an imprest account. So as the money is drawn down from this pot of money, it has to be periodically replenished. So, I'm sorry? Oh,
Well, that's important to know that the taxpayers, imagine if we had to absorb this process, another $300,000-$400,000, it would cost $1 million just to go into a contract, the worst contract ever in the history of Riverhead. I know we have Frank Eisler, our independent attorney. Did you want to come up and speak in this regard?
Can I ask a question to follow up to what the supervisor is saying? Just out of curiosity, I mean, you're gonna vet them financially, correct? I mean, which you normally don't do.
That's what the town board has charged us with, yes.
Okay, so wouldn't that be step one? Because if they're not financially viable, why even,
Exactly.
go through the process of estimating what 1 million square feet is going to be? I mean, I understand later and in the aggregate, it's important, but step one is, are they financially viable? That's one. Second question is, in terms of the information that you're requesting, and I don't know if the CDA is doing this as well, but the timeline, they have to submit stuff to the CDA, they have to submit stuff to the IDA. Are you guys putting deadlines on the material you would like to receive? So
it's overdue.
It's overdue?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, and that's good to note, because in the contract that the IDA has with CAT, if they're not performing to what you want, you can end the deal. All right? The town doesn't do it, the CDA doesn't do it, the IDA has that power to end the deal. At what point do you allow them to continue to miss deadlines? You know, what's your, can't think of the word, your threshold to that?
I can
Thank
answer that.
you. Go ahead.
Okay. As to the first, I wholeheartedly agree. We are not talking to CAT yet about pilots. We've had some preliminary discussions. But we're not talking about financial assistance. We're not doing all of the sort of normal steps until we answer, as you said, the threshold issue of, is this financially viable? And only if it is, do we then get to the next step? Because if the answer is no, then the IDA will throw it back to the town.
Wait,
Because it-
you say
but
that, no,
that's it.
but that's the point. How would you throw it back to the town when you're contracted? If the answer is no, the IDA can say, okay, the deal's up. Am I correct in when I read that contract properly?
That was the way it was designed, that you guys find them, that
Right.
that
You
they don't
see
have the
that-
financial
yeah.
ability to
Okay.
do it, and you report back to
We
us, they
would
don't
make
have
a
the finances, and it's
determination.
done.
The agency would make a determination, and then I believe it's incumbent upon the town to decide what they're gonna do with your contract.
Right, it would be
We can't
your.
end your contract.
Right.
No, but your
You're
contract
supposed to
is
give us a
separately.
financial report
Yeah.
of
Exactly.
ability.
Yes.
Right.
So that's what
Exactly,
Bob's
that's
saying.
the determination
If you're
we're
not
going to
getting,
make.
if you're not even getting the materials that you need to determine that, then why not give us a report saying they haven't provided the necessary documents, so at this time, we're gonna tell you that it's not financially feasible.
So
There's
we're-
nothing provided to
we-
us to
We're
prove to us
following
otherwise.
our protocol that is typical to processing an application. We don't typically just cut them off the knees. We're here for economic development purposes.
Understood.
We're going to give everybody an opportunity to respond. There are lots of reasons why some applicants, including the town, can't respond in a timely manner for some of the information we're requesting. In addition to that, to your point with the pro forma, we do need to have some assumptions in order to go along with the financials. Because if we don't have the assumptions, we don't know what they're going to need to make this project worthwhile. So
no,
I just want you to know, and we would be expending resources for no reason when we're already limited with resources if we move on to something beyond the financials at this point. So we are, in fact, working on vetting the financials first and foremost.
I think
No,
what.
and that makes, I'm
what
sorry,
Karen-
but that makes perfect sense, that, you need an idea of what the scope is. I
Of course,
understand that.
before you, you call before you
But we
walk
need
with the
to get-
finance.
I want to get back to the fact that it's no longer incumbent on the town to kill the deal, because in the contract that the IDA has, it's spelled
The
out.
addendum, it's not the
It's
contract.
the addendum,
To
it
the
is spelled out in there that if the IDA is not not satisfied, the deal is over.
Well, I think that.
Am I wrong on that?
I think technically what happens is, the town has asked the IDA to make that decision. Are they or are they not financially viable? If the answer is that they are not, then the town, or the CDA, has the right under its contract with CAT to terminate.
Okay.
Because
that's-
the IDA is not a party to your contract. So, you're right,
Okay.
the initial decision, if you will, or the recommendation, is on the IDA. So we make that determination. I can't imagine, but it's up to Frank to tell you whether or not
I would like to
you
hear
should,
from Frank.
you should terminate.
Yeah.
The documents that we have in place that are, the agreements with the IDA and with CAT is that the structure is just as what he described. The IDA has will determine the financial wherewithal of the project and of CAT to perform it. Our documents are, if they find that CAT is not financially capable, they make that finding, and it's simultaneous, that once they make that finding, our contract to sell the property to CAT ends. And at the very most, the only act that the town board would do as the governing body of the CDA would be to pass a resolution declaring that as a result of this finding on the part of the IDA, we hereby declare the contract over. But it's effectively self-executing.
I also want it clear, and I know, Bob, where you were going, that there are certain milestones that you guys have to reach before, and get a good scope of the project before you go on and ask for the finances to see if it could support it.
Yes.
Fully understandable. I think what he was saying, and I'm pretty sure you're doing, if they're not submitting what they're supposed to in a timely fashion, you are sending letters, you're marking dates, you're giving them cutoffs, and I think that's where you were going.
Yeah,
So
I'm
now you
wondering
can
what the
move to
threshold,
make that,
yeah.
that determination legally. You just will say, oh, you missed the deadline, okay, getting out of the contract, and we're not even gonna look at your finances.
Well, that alone should be reason to decline, you know, that we
But
we
they
go
also
forward.
have to give them,
But if they don't, if they're not given any information to review or anywhere to see, right, there has to be a certain point where you give,
Yes.
you've passed this. So the answer is, no, you're being declined financially feasibly because you don't have any documents to prove otherwise.
Well, you know, Ken, I think we know how to run what we're doing here really
Yeah.
quite adequately. And I think the key thing is that the decision, as you say, which makes for a simultaneous result, is a decision that has to be unassailable. And we're going to make sure that our decision is unassailable. And how we do that is actually our business. And we know exactly how to do it, and we're in the process of doing that. And we've been here explaining to you our procedures at achieving that.
Now, I understand, Jim.
That's how we're gonna do it.
but
So,
there- but
with
there
all due
is-
respect for you to try to ginny us up to say, come on, can't you go quicker or whatever, we're doing it as
I don't
fast as
think
we
anybody
can.
That's
has
not,
and
you're,
said that
you're unfair.
whatsoever.
There's a disconnect here between us and the IDA, meaning that you're saying that you don't have to tell us anything that's going on because we're a co-applicant.
No.
But at the same point, okay, we're not sitting down with, we need
We're
to
not saying-
find the disconnect because we're not sitting down with 555 or anybody else and going, okay, so you're not asking us to ask them to documents, we're not getting any communication from them. So if you're waiting on them, then you're saying that you don't need to share that, then you should, why not put us in the loop and say, okay, every time we ask for a document from 555, we're gonna ask the town board that we're waiting on this, and then we can circumnavigate around the 555 and go, have you
I
provide the
don't think that's
necessary
possible,
documentation?
because it's a separate entity,
not
it's not
possible.
a board
But
project.
there is, we all, I think we all agree, we're seeing a disconnect here, that there's just, there's not.
No, we're here to make a connection, to understand.
Yeah.
So to claim that there's a disconnect, I have to differ.
I
from you.
understand.
There
We're
is,
here-
we're not privy to what is, exactly what is going on.
Because we asked the IDA
Yeah.
a year ago
To
to
take care of it.
intervene on our
Intervene.
behalf.
6 months.
Right, but then
6
he's
months.
saying he doesn't have to report anything to us.
Well, no,
That's
that's
not
not what I'm
saying.
saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying that we are
process.
trying to have,
We're
we're trying to take a decision as an agency which we find to be certain and supportable. Because the whole essence of your contractual relationship with CAT, if in fact we were, whether it's, I don't know whether it be negative or positive, but the fact of the matter is, we want to make sure that our process is done entirely properly, such that whatever decision we make, it does not leave any party in a position to challenge our decision. That's what we're doing.
And that's
We're gonna,
appropriate.
we're trying, so, you know, and my mind is that if in fact we do that, then with all due respect, it's back over to Frank, because then your counterparty in this contract will or will not challenge your contractual determination, or not, as the case may be. So,
Nobody here is asking you to speed anything up. We want exactly what council said. We want a thorough and a complete exam done. Nobody's asking anything to be sped up. What we're just simply asking is to be kept in the loop of what you can tell us. We know there are things that you're not gonna be able to, but we haven't gotten anything from the IDA in a long time. And stuff that I do find out, I read in the local press.
Me
and I
too.
would
Go by
rather-
that. Go by that.
I would rather have direct connection with the IDA on the things that you are able to discuss with us. We are not pushing you. Nobody here is pushing you. This is, as you said, is the biggest transaction that's probably ever gonna happen in my lifetime in the town of Riverhead. We want it done properly and we want it correct. And if it can't happen, I'll be the first to say, this cannot happen, let's cut our losses and let's move on. But your vetting has to be done, and it has to be done at your speed, and we're not asking you to speed that up. I just want to be clear about that.
And I'm just looking for, maybe you can provide us with a step process of here, there's 100 things that need to be done, and here's where, you're at number 8, you're at number 9, you're at number, to get to the finish line towards what we're waiting for, so that when people are asking us, I mean, it's not just about in this room during board meetings, it's around town, it's sitting in a coffee shop going, where are you at, when's this gonna happen, when are you closing, when are we getting the money, when are we not getting the
I
money,
can't
what's
give
happening?
you tomorrow and next Thursday and June 12th and that kind of thing. But what we're here to do is to describe the process. We've gotten some financial information. When we got that financial information, we wanted to make it available. And I agree with you, we can work on better communication going forward, but we're trying to be transparent as much as we can. Where we
Understood.
are as of today is two things. We are waiting for more of the detailed financial information. When we get that, we're going to do two things. We are going to publish what we can, some of which we won't be able to, some of which we may be able to, and start hiring the consultants to help us look at it. One more thing, I want to make sure that we're all on board with what your contract with CAT says. CAT and town agree that in the event the IDA, after consideration of all financial and project information submitted in connection with the joint application, does not issue an authorizing resolution, the seller, the CDA, shall have the right to declare the agreement to sale dated November 19th, 2018, null and void at any time after the IDA action. So that's sort of the process is, pursuant to this, you've asked us to make that determination. That is, as you say, sort of the gating issue, the threshold issue. That's what we're working on now.
And from my standpoint, we entrusted this process to you.
Absolutely.
And because of your expertise in the area and because of your knowledge of land deals.
So,
Okay.
I just want to say to that, you did appoint this board.
Yes.
They're very highly educated. They're very professional. They're very experienced. They are not compensated. They do this because they care about the community. And they're doing the job you gave them to do, as am I, in a very conscientious, professional, and thorough manner. And we do ask for everyone's patience. We were handed it in September. We had a hiccup to December. I think we're moving along rather swiftly as we can.
so with that, I just would like to ask a question, and I know I asked about, are you guys putting timelines on the information that you're asking
You need
for?
to-
Of course we do.
Okay, no, I understand, and I ask, because look, I've been on that, I've sat where you're sitting, and I completely understand it. What I want to be, sure of is that what is your threshold from when you say, they say, we'll have it in 2 weeks, and it comes a month later? At what point do you guys?
I apologize for interrupting,
Yeah,
but
but-
I would ask that the board members not answer that question.
That's fine.
Because I don't want to either predetermine, and in part it's a legal issue, at what point, there would be a point, if we didn't get anything, there would be a point at which the IDA says, okay, time is really
Fair
up
enough,
now.
fair enough.
And at that point, then, I don't want to prejudge what my legal advice then would be, but we could come to conclusion based on, quote, all financial and project information submitted at that time, that, we cannot affirmatively say they have the financial wherewithal, et cetera. I will say, we're not at that point today. That point could come in the future. When it comes, I think it's a matter up to the board, based on legal advice and lots of other factors.
So to recap, you need to justify why you make a decision to move forward that they're not cooperating. And that makes sense, and that's what attorneys do. And that's what the IDA board does. You're not gonna sit there, okay, well, wait another month and not send anything out. I mean, that's really not doing your job.
Frank, the question-
The other thing is that with Frank is our counsel to the town. So any town board member here can contact him. Anybody here can call the IDA also. So I know last Tuesday was like, the supervisor I know it was in the works with you guys for the last month, and you sent the letter on the 22nd, and just got into like, bring them here, and this and need to know. So again, I'm glad that you're here, because we're making that connection. But Frank Geisler is our outside counsel on this. If we have any questions, we should be going to him also. So we don't jeopardize that application where the co-applicant can say, you guys got too involved, you're bashing my application, I have the right to privacy when I submit my application, just like any other individual. And I fully understand it, and I trust, that's why you hire attorneys. If you gotta get out of the contract, that provision is in there, that if it doesn't work out with the IDA, we're walking away. And I have every intention to walk away. if that's the case. But I'm not doing it until I feel comfortable, that you feel comfortable, and you can prove it to me, and I still can prove it. And then when that happens, we're running with it. So,
That's entirely the town's decision if the IDA gets to that point, one way or another. And it could well be, they give us all the information that we're asking for, and the IDA still comes to the conclusion that, we don't think there's enough here or there. I'd like to mention, I guess, at least one other thing in terms of where we are and what we're doing. We are sort of on a parallel path. We appreciate that there's a lot of information and misinformation in the public. So we have asked strongly, shall we say, the applicant to hold a public forum. So it's going to be May 3rd. Where's the final place? It's not in the ballroom, is it?
Indigo.
Indigo, at the Indigo. So it's in the evening. This is not the IDA's public hearing. As you probably all know, the IDA will, later on in the process, when we think that we're ready to do so, hold a public hearing where the public then makes comments to and gives feedback to the board. This public forum that we've asked the CAT to do is just to inform the public, just because it's been a while since the public has gotten any information from them directly. So in terms of what we're doing, while we're simultaneously asking for financial information so we can make that determination that we've been talking about, we're also telling CAT, it's been too long, the public has a right to know at least where you think you are while we're going through this process. So when I say it's a threshold gating issue, we're also asking them to update the public.
therefore, it's not a town meeting, and
No,
it's
ma'am.
not an
No.
IDA,
No.
it's only an IDA request specifically for the public, and it's not from our council.
Exactly.
So it's independent.
Yes.
Well, and they do that all the time. They go to the communities, and whenever somebody, and they go and they speak to the community, so this is nothing different. So
Exactly,
It's
and-
not, okay.
I'm not sure, I will probably show up, just because I think it's appropriate to do so. I don't know if any IDA board members are going to show up. I have to check Tracy's schedule, see what her evening is like that night, and town board members may or may not show up. But as you said, Supervisor, it is not a town, a CDA, or an IDA event. It's just something that we've asked CAT to do for the benefit of the residents, because I think there's a lot of, either lack of information or worse yet, affirmative misinformation.
Yeah, I remember when Tracy suggested that 3 weeks ago, and you're coughing up a lot. And I was like, they're gonna do this? I hope they do it. I hope they do it. So I'm glad they came through on that.
Frank, the question I have is regarding to their statements of thresholds have not been met. Dates have been expired and they haven't turned things in. Is that in itself enough for us to pull the plug on this contract?
If they're gonna, from the language he read to you from the resolution, and the understanding is, there'll be if those events happen, I take it the IDA will consider a resolution on their part that we are hereby declaring the applicant in default, and he's not demonstrated the wherewithal that he's required to do within the parameters we've given, and as a result, we do not find them capable financially or otherwise to go forward with this.
Well, it is a contract, and we have to justify why you're moving away. I mean, that's just a legal process.
Right.
That has to take place, and I'm sure that you guys are gonna make sure that that's locked in. That's a simple, legal process that must take place. And, the other thing is, and I just wanna make note, before we leave, that, everybody knows that Tracy is the executive director, and she's always available. Works for town, but in a separate entity. You have Isla, and then you have the liaison for my office, and anybody can call anybody.
And I just want to reiterate, we all know we can do that, but we needed to do this publicly.
And although we asked
And
a
it was
lot
in
of
the works.
questions.
I know you brought it up Tuesday, but it was definitely in the
I
works.
brought it up for a couple of months.
No, you brought it up 2 weeks ago, and I've
No,
been
I did
speaking to
not.
her.
I did. I
So
brought it up
let's move on
prior-
from
I
that.
just want to say, though we're discussing different ways about financial standings and how to get up, but it also means that we're sitting here openly welcome that they'll provide the documentation with the financial withdrawal, and that we are ready to close and we are ready to move forward. It is well balanced. We're just trying to find what the next step is. We're not leaning towards any direction other than what is the next step and when will we have that decision made.
Excellent point.
We'll take their check as well.
There's, I guess, one other public comment that, if it's appropriate, I'd like to address, which is, the IDA relies upon fees to fund its operations. And there has been some comment that, gee, doesn't that represent a conflict for the IDA? And I understand that concern, but it is the same concern for every IDA in the state. Every IDA in the state operates the same way. And New York State, when they set up the general municipal law and made IDAs separate from the municipalities, they have required basically that the IDAs rely on fees generated by their applicants. So is that a conflict or a concern? It could be perceived that way, but that's sort of the structure.
I think if you look back at the past history of the IDA, you will see that even if they needed the money, they have turned down projects.
I was
So
gonna-
that's an important point that the
Absolutely.
public has to know.
Three projects very recently.
Absolutely, and even more further back than that. So I know that for a fact, and
And
this
the-
is-
the alternative, if you wanted to change the law in Albany, is to make the IDA part of the town, which then means it's a taxpayer expense. And I suspect that no one really wants to, add that to the taxpayer burden. So the benefit of the current structure is that there's no taxpayer dollars involved, and the IDA fee is just some minor percentage of the overall project. And part of the analysis every time that an IDA does a project is this a net benefit to the residents of the town? Even after payment of the fees, legal fees, IDA fees, et cetera. So I guess I wanted to address that because it's certainly not a legal conflict of interest. I appreciate that it's a concern of some citizens, but that's sort of just the way that this structure is set up. And I personally see a lot of benefit for it. And as Lori says, it does not affect the decisions of the IDA.
no, and I think your record proves that. So
And I
that,
just want to make note that some towns have a Suffolk County IDA, which in turn, they can they can put any project they want anywhere. And
Including
they don't-
Riverhead.
they're not gonna know our community, they're gonna have their own personal interests. And so we are thankful that we have our own IDA. If we didn't have that, Suffolk County would be telling us what we do, where we put it, how much benefits they're gonna get. And so it's, we are fortunate that we have it.
We
And
have local control,
You have local control.
local determination of our projects and how we.
Right, and you
structure
understand the
them.
community a lot better.
It's a tremendous asset to have.
No question.
Although, sometimes certain people don't believe that, but, but you guys are, you guys are doing good with that, and, I appreciate it, and I know that you're volunteers, and I know you put a lot of time, and this is not determining the color of a brick that goes on a building, okay? There's some committees, I know there's a lot of legal components, you have to deal with the applicants, you have to deal with state guidelines, you have to deal with the community, and so, it's not an easy task, but we'll see where we're going with this project, and I'm gonna trust if we need to, and I wanna make it known, if we need to walk away from this project, I'm sure that you're gonna have our back, and you're gonna be able to justify that we can, and then we'll move away, and if they happen to, come up to the plate, good, but they can't wait too long. We're not gonna wait for another year or two for them, we need for this to move
And
forward.
we've made it clear then that the time is ticking, the
Okay.
sands in the hourglass are running through, or
Perfect.
some other analogy I can't think of, but, we've made it clear to them that they've missed the deadlines, and that we were expecting this pretty quickly.
And qualified and eligible, can you just speak a little bit about that? That's like, it seems like a lot of our concerns, everybody's concern, the qualified and eligible. So that's done privately, and as you said, you only release certain information that's possible from their financials, and then what, you hire a company to vet them?
Yes,
Is that-
we will, when we get the information, then we can determine what consultants we will need to look at it. Because, again, even though many board members are very sophisticated financially, A, they're volunteers, and B, it's appropriate to have an independent third party say, we think this is strong, this is not, this is credible, this is not, whatever it is. So the answer is yes, we will commission one or more reports. And as you've identified, we want to get as much of the information to be available publicly, but I think we all recognize
Right.
that in order to get them to give us the full financial picture, we need to assure them that certain confidential information will not be made public. So we're in that process with them.
I think if they understood that they're gonna be vetted independently, as opposed to qualified and eligible, like at a town board meeting, give us what you have, speak to the, the attorney assigned to the case. I think if, there's two attorneys here, right? The IDA, there's our attorney, and now you're gonna vet them independently. They should come up with, whatever they provide, should be viable, confirmed, and the funds available. Because, and from my understanding, if they just give us a whole bunch of letters and nothing can be verified, that we have doubt of it's not vetted, we can't vet it. I mean, that should be enough possibly to make one of those points, those check box that we need to move away from the project.
I don't want to predetermine the outcome, but sort of as a general matter, I agree with you. A vague, general letter
That should not.
is not what we're looking for. And again, we're going to get whatever we can get from them. We will engage consultants to review those, and then it's up to the IDA board to look at all of that and come to, it really is a yay or nay decision at that point. So we are giving, to Bob's point, the applicant every possible ability to, and it's sort of the way that we've said it to them, is convince us that you have financial and experience to carry this off. So please give us all the information, whether it's letters or reports or financial statements, give us everything you can to convince us. But we sort of put the burden on them to, you convince us, we will review it, the board makes a decision, and then we've talked about what happens from there.
Just for a clarification, that you talked about the money that they are paying for this whole procedure. The town is not. But because they're paying for it, doesn't mean they're gonna hire the consultants that you're going to
They don't.
use. You will choose the
Yes.
consultants to use for this. I just wanted
We actually hire
the
them.
public to be aware of that.
And the opinions
Yes.
are written to the IDA and not to the applicant.
How do you you can't have the applicant
No,
pick
they're
their
not.
financial
They're not.
people, right?
No, but there's concern in the public that, well, they're
Yeah,
paying for
that's
this, so
not-
that it's
yeah.
gonna be whoever they wanna
Yeah,
use,
yeah,
and it's gonna be all
absolutely.
positive for them.
Got-
I just wanted to clear that up for the public,
Yeah,
that
can you
that is
imagine
not
what they
how it's
submit
done.
if they could do that? I
Exactly.
mean, it'd be a circus, might as well be
Exactly.
at Disneyland.
But these are comments
So
that are
that's-
being made in the public.
Yeah.
I have started interviewing accountants in particular, because I think we're going to at least need that, and started thinking about the other consultants we're going to need. I have not asked the applicant to approve it or anything else. So your point is a very good one in terms of the independence of the IDA process.
Right.
It's going to be our consultants retained by us, and while the money does come from the applicant, it's in the sort of impressed account.
Mm-hmm.
So when it gets below a certain level, they've got to fill it back up.
Right.
And whether or not we spend a lot or a little is entirely on us. If at any time they don't refill that fund, we can then say, that's it, we have no more consultants, we're done, and based on what we have, now the time is up.
Right.
That would be, I think, a very, I don't give legal advice out in the
Right.
public, but that would be a very clear demarcation line.
Sure.
And Tracy, I just want to say, because over the months, I've gotten questions, and every time I call you, and I understand, you give me what you have, and I understand from, again, being on this board, there's been smaller projects that have taken a long time to vet.
But I think this
And
was
I totally, I'm sorry.
extremely helpful
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need
to
to do
get
this.
this to the public.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
what we asked for.
Perception
Thank
of,
you so much.
the town and the press, I could care less about, because I understand what you guys put in to make sure this is right.
My office is always open. I can't answer the 50 phone calls at the same time. But I want you to have the information you need, and I'll give you everything I can without compromising this
Right,
project.
that's all we ask.
And I'll just say, to back up what you said, Tim, I mean, being the liaison to the IDA, in this past year, I know of, I can remember 2 projects that they turned down. And also being on the board, we've turned down projects. Just because they come doesn't mean they're getting any
Right.
help, unless it's good for the town.
Yeah, we've never been a profit-making entity.
Yeah, that's all.
And we do what we can to sustain the agency, and if there ever comes a time where it needs help, it'll be up to the town board whether they're going to assist the agency and fund it or not.
Or give it to Suffolk County
No,
IDA,
absolutely not.
Oh, wow.
and then have fun with
Might as well
that.
give it to Kat.
And for the record, thank you to the volunteers who
Cheers,
do
thank you so
such
much.
a great job.
Agreed, thank
You
you
know,
all
I
very
think-
much.
I think you go a little under the radar sometimes, but you're integral.
Not during silly season. We don't.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
we're
it's
front
that
and
You always
center.
get a platform
Every-
during silly
every
season.
2 years.
That's
Yeah,
true.
it's
Somebody gives
exactly
you a
that
platform,
time.
right, during silly season?
Yes,
Jim, is there anything you'd like to
it's that
add?
time. I'm seeing
No,
it.
I think they've been informed, hopefully. I think, we're very sensitive to this whole decision-making process. We take the seriousness of this particular decision very seriously. Seriously. But it's, as I said earlier, our goal in all of this is not to compromise our decision. We want a decision that is unassailable. And
As do we.
that's what we're trying to do.
Well,
You do the job
I
you've
admire
entrusted
your
to
work
us.
ethics.
All right.
I really do. Even though you're volunteers, your work, and again, thank you for coming at a shorter notice. I know, we spoke at the end of March.
Yes, we did.
Yes,
Yes,
when we were trying to figure out how to get this process done.
Yes,
And then,
how we could go about it.
yeah, how we could go about it. It was a brief conversation that I had with the attorney, which I asked for, and Tracy facilitated that, and then you talked about the possible date coming in, and you were waiting for a couple of things, and then all of a sudden you moved it. I asked you to move it up a week, so I really appreciate it, because this was needed. Hopefully the public is more informed. I learned from it, even though dude made. I just want the board to know that he's my liaison. Any board member could go to him. Tell the supervisor you have to do it, and I'm doing it. We're not doing it silly season stuff. So we do have a connection, and then we have our attorney here, Frank Geisler, who's always available, and good luck if you attend this on the
On the third.
open
The forum?
Yeah.
meeting, the forum, and just keep us abreast. And I can't reiterate, that's why the supervisor has liaison between the boards, between the attorneys, and the actual town board. So you have any questions, or you want to send anything that you think we should know, you always can contact me, absolutely. But he's very knowledgeable, and I trust that he's going to do a good job. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, folks.
Have a good day.
guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Oh, you go ahead, more stuff, yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Okay, so next we have Jude Dillingham, our engineer, to give us some final details on Riverhead compost program.
One pile of poop, another pile of.
Can I get one of those buckets?
Very creative.
No?
You're on the air.
Yes, yes.
All right. I'll go to DEC then. I'll tell them you're not giving it to me.
Mark, how many beers can fit in that?
Oh, 8,
Okay.
yeah, with ice.
Mark, you're always such a good spirit.
I try. You know, the next $40 million consideration, here it is. Sorry.
My dog is gonna fight somebody for that bucket if I'm putting food scraps in.
Oh yeah, the instructions are in here too. This is kind of fun. How to use this thing, these are fun. All right, go ahead, Drew.
So this is Mark.
Good morning. How are you? Haven't
Good,
seen
how
you in
are
a
you?
while.
How is everybody?
Good.
Very
We're
good,
doing well.
thank you.
This is Mark Hobner. He's on the environmental committee. He's also works for North Fork Environmental Council. and he's here today to present our composting program, which we hope to kick off on May 11th.
Okay.
Mark?
This is part of the puzzle. Composting can be done in your backyard. It can be done in a community garden. It can be done among neighbors. It can be done at the municipality. It can be done by a private organization. This is the municipal part of it. All right. There's no transportation involved with this piece, whereas before we had curbside pickup for residential. This is the residence goes to us, so there's no transportation involved. We have decided that using the yard scrap facility, we're not calling it yard waste anymore, and we're not calling it food waste, right? Yard scraps and food scraps go together to make compost. Our dream, it's my dream, at some point is that we have a product that we can sell. Right? So we've got interest from the farming community already that if you have a finished product, we're interested. So we've got that much already in place. We have 36,000 people in Riverhead, and at a half a pound per person per day, it's 9 tons a day. 9 tons a day. So I know that some of these are behind the gated communities that we're not collecting from them, I know that. We do have 12,000 other people on the 6 districts that European American is currently contracted for. So if you even want to conservatively take those 12,000 households, it's a lot, 6 tons a day. There we go. It's 6 tons a day, right? 6 tons a day at $95 a ton, that number is going up, right? That number is not going to go down. I'm going to guarantee that. So at around 100 times 6 tons, it's $600 a day. This is what we could be pulling out of our solid waste stream. We have a solid waste management plan that's been submitted to the DEC. We've got a 2030 limit to, I think they're only asking for 50% of organics by
Is that by
2030.
2028? Oh, I thought that part was 2028 now.
The residential's coming by then. We're going to be way ahead of it, as a matter of fact. But our mission is to collect 100%, right? Because if you ask for 50, you get 25. You ask for 100, 70, 80, right? I mean, the goalposts, right, at the 50-yard line, not so good. So we're looking for 100% residential diversion, recovery, and reuse. All of it's going to go into compost rather than burning it, because that's what we're doing right now. 100% of municipal solid waste right now is being burned. So we don't find that a good use, especially in the farming community. I think with the awareness in this town is that we are part of the Peconic bioregion, that we are farming and fishing and outdoors and recreation and all the things that we talk about with quality of life out here, why people come here. So to improve the soils, I know I'm not a farmer, that when you farm and pull vegetables out, the nutrients go with them, and you have to replenish the soils. I think that's correct. So this composting program would be part of that, whether it's for landscapers or for the municipality, parks and rec, building and grounds. The outlet, I don't think we have any problem giving it away to our residents or to our town itself as a start. Right now, we were given these by the fellow from Canada, Beth Fateni, who was here a month or so ago from the Long Island Organics Council, is running this part of the project in collaboration with us. She had a $20,000 grant in hand. That's part of what we're using the money for. These, however, are not part of these are the countertop collection bins. So they are airproof, they've got a filter on them, they're waterproof, they stop in one place so you don't have to have wet hands. There's a whole spiel to go with these. And to avoid the ick factor, we've got all right, so these are the ones my wife got for 20 cents a box back about 10 years ago.
Are they biodegradable?
They are
They're breaking
totally
down already.
biodegradable, okay? Now, thank you for that. These are also BPI approved, and these are the only bags we would be taking from the residents, and they come with the bucket. You get 25 bags, and the bucket for $10 covers our costs. So the ask here is that we put up, this isn't 40 million anymore. This is $19.95. For $19.95, $1,995, we can provide, we're going to go in with, East Hampton's already starting this, by the way. Riverhead will be the first on Long Island, 3 million people to do this project. Right? Upstate's been doing it for 10, 15 years. I mean, some of these people have been doing it for a long time. And we go to Scarsdale, we've been to Greenberg, and we've gotten help from these people on what's the best bucket, what's the best bag, what to look for. And we made a lot of contacts up at Syracuse at the NYSAR, New York State Association of Reduce, Recover, and Recycle, NYSAR3.org. We got a lot of help from them. The Center for Eco-Technology is a 90-person nonprofit, and they've offered to help us make phone calls or get people involved or whatever. So we've got free consulting behind us as well. So there's no cost to the town. We're asking to borrow, I guess, 1995, right? We want to borrow the 1995 so that when a resident comes by and they want to, we've got a sign up on the website already. There's a barcode, not a barcode, better than a barcode, it's a QR code. And what the resident would get would be a bag of 25, a box of 25 bags, one of these buckets for a little over cost, so $10 for this, and they got skin in the game. Because if you give things away, people don't treat them the same. Right? We're finding this out from all the people in Syracuse and everybody else. So for $10, your entry fee, you go on the list, and we're going to have a toter up there, a 65-gallon rolling lockable tote. It goes right next to the e-waste trailer. People can come there only during the hours of 7 and 3:30, Thursday through Monday, right? Same exact hours, no extra manpower. We'll be tipping these into the brush twice a week, I think, Fridays and Mondays,
Yes.
so that there's no over the weekend smell, stink, whatever. We're not expecting 200 people to just show up on the 11th, so I think we're going to be seeing an incline in the people committing to this. So we've got time. We're not going to get crushed by a program of 12,000 households like California just did. They passed a Senate bill, and they said, we want everybody in California to start doing this, right? And I've been on the phone with these people. And when you legislate before you educate, you got a lot of work to do. So we've got time. It's not like we have until January 1st to get this program in place. We do have a commitment to Beth's P2I grant for $20,000. This needs to be in place like right away. We've got some slippage because of this and that and the other. Slippage, we know the slippage, right? Deadlines, and right, we know what those are. It happens. So, but we're not under the gun for this. We'll get this done. We'll comply with the contract, the grant that Beth has. We're completely in compliance with that. And as we get the money back, we put it into a little green box at Drew's office, and we have the 1995 back, right? So we're working on the details on how to collect the money. Check, money order, the QR on the line. Those
Venmo.
Venmo, there we go, right? So whatever, I don't know, right? Hide it under the rock.
Give me any ideas.
Mark_Hubner. Yeah, so, yeah, so we'll be on top of this. The stickers will have the logo for the town on it. They don't belong to the town, but it will be an identifiable thing. We've got a big giant sign that'll come up at the food scrap facility. You can pass these around.
Mark, are bones going in these or no?
What kind?
Bones.
Oh, no, we're gonna have a list, education is part of this. We're gonna, flyers on the website, included in the bucket.
As I see
The
on the
picture
label
on the
there, they
bucket.
show a chicken leg, and
Yeah,
I
well,
know I've
that's-
heard other times that bones
That's what
aren't
they do in Canada,
necessarily.
yeah. So we're gonna, we've also decided, and I've talked to the people, the recycling people in California, Folsom and San Diego, and around the country. And the idea is that you keep it as restrictive as possible for this program, so that if a farmer comes up and said, oh, I don't mind having the bones, then we just expand the program. It's like you ask for the least possible contamination.
Makes sense.
Right, so we're not accepting anything without our green bags to come in, or they can tip it upside down in Drew's toter. The toter's gonna have a big liner in it, the 65 gallon's gonna have a big liner in it. All right, so no fuss, no muss. We're next door to water, apparently there's water over at the dog pound,
Yes.
sorry, the animal shelter. And we'll be able to, yeah, the former animal shelter, we'll be able to rinse out the buckets, just quickly throw them back in your car and be on your way, or not. Because the bag should really alleviate a lot of this. But if somebody comes in with a bagless container, just dump it into our container, the toter, the 65 gallon,
Lined.
because it's already lined, all right? So no mess for us. right? So we're trying to make it easy for the people, easy for us. Again, the money is not, right now really an issue. It's because we're gonna recover these monies again. We're partnering with East Hampton. Southampton is also, Tom Houghton, you know, right? Is also working on this project there. Shelter Island is ready to go because they've got 10,000 yards of yard scraps, which DEC is, but guys, can you do something with these yard scraps? And this has been 5 years that I know, right? Because I was there.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
5 years?
5 years. Yeah, we started this in 2018. I know, I've been working on this for a while. Yeah, we've been working on this a while. So when you say, oh, just 200 households, yeah, we want to do it right. We want to do that. We did pickup with 9 households and 3 restaurants. We did Southold, 30 families, 30 days. So not moving along too fast. And again, education, 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 right? Being tabling and being at the events and handing things out. And, you know, like, wouldn't you like to buy a bucket? And then here's your QR code, snap, and you're in, right? So we're trying to make that easy too. But there you go. So first on Long Island, people. First in the communities of 3 million people. I think this is very exciting.
The bags are biodegradable.
They totally are.
Are they
BPI approved.
non-toxic? So when my
Yeah,
dog
yeah, yeah,
eats
yeah.
that,
Yep, I'm gonna give it to
Okay.
your dog.
because my
Right.
dog will fight me for anything in that
They
bucket.
are PFAS-free, PFOA-free. We had a big discussion with the lawyers, the big lawyers up in Syracuse about this,
PFOA,
right?
for sure.
Everything free. Not, what's the other thing we hate?
PFAS, PFOA.
No, there's another one we hate.
Dioxin.
Yeah, the dioxin, what is it?
One
1,4-dioxide? It's, yeah, it doesn't have any of those things in it. Yeah, the BPA's, there's none,
Good.
all right? The BPI people, I forgot what it stands for, are international. And they just had to rebrand, here's an interesting little thing. They had to rebrand their brand because there were so many counterfeits on the market. So
And
they
these
were,
are Canada, right?
well, these buckets are the Canadian people? Yeah,
They don't make them in America.
we do for $15.
Yeah.
And we're getting them from cost from the guy who makes them. So I'm not complaining about his interview, you know. If you can find somebody who can do all that, they've
No,
done
no,
the.
I'm just,
But wait, there's more. If you open it.
I know, I was
There's
waiting
more.
for that.
Now, I could kick this across the room and it won't open, all right? I saw the guy. The
All
guy,
right, let demonstration, please.
I will.
No,
I will.
okay, no.
No, he's tempting me. He really is. So version 2, if you want to be a bucket geek, version 2 has a hole here. Because when you turn it upside down after it's been in the dishwasher, it drains out. So, all right, so these are not version 2. Sorry. They're version 1. Yeah,
You
right.
can drill your own hole,
That's
but
why the
that's
$10?
smart design.
That's why they sent me to Syracuse on my dime. Yeah, that's all I
Okay.
got.
Okay.
When do you envision laying this all out with the public education and what you can and can't put in them?
Oh, right away. I mean, as soon as the 11th comes, we're
Yeah,
starting.
May 11th kickoff, right?
Yeah, we hope so. Ribbon cutting, you know?
Scraps into compost.
Are you working with the schools, the elementary schools?
Yeah, Riley Avenue signed up to
Yeah,
do whatever
'cause,
we
you know,
want.
the kids are gonna really get their parents, you know,
Absolutely.
to-
why aren't you recycling?
We tried once, let's try again.
Listen,
Yeah, well,
I
yeah.
cut, you know, my onions, plant them in the ground, you know, what's left
Good,
over, you know
good.
why? They make beautiful flowers and you get another onion.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
Horseradish does that too. If you
Yeah,
cut
I
the
mean,
tops off,
right,
they plant-
That
Potatoes,
kind of
right?
education, I think,
Yeah.
is important as well.
See, that's reuse.
That's reuse,
That's
which.
reuse. This
and
is
guess what?
recycling. There's a difference.
Understood, but you know what? Reuse is quick.
Yep.
I think you and Bob shop at the same library.
No, I mean, you know, it's, you know, the food waste is big.
Yeah,
It's
and we
just-
we rely on an insider in the industry too.
Oh,
For a lot of our
insider.
information, yes. We have an insider, and we use him very
Kenny
well.
Jr.
Yes,
Young insider.
yeah, he's a source of, we've done a couple of actually, we've done 3 presentations, public presentations on recycling already. And Kenny's got this big box of crap, sorry, big box of things.
Stuff.
You're on
Stuff.
TV.
I know,
You
it's
know
too
that,
late.
right?
Fire me,
It's
please.
okay.
So he dumps it out on the cafeteria table. He goes, okay, is this recyclable? Is this recyclable? Is this recyclable? And everybody goes, yes, yes, yes. And he goes, no, 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 and here's why, right? So we've learned a lot. So I think we're gonna be doing recycling soon. We don't have blue buckets in town. I mean, really, you have a brand new Coke machine with no Coke in it, and there's no recycling bin. So that's a whole nother climate smart community, gives points for these things. This is a huge point getter. This is absolutely huge. So it's
How
gotta be
many
done.
points do we have?
Oh, we've got 80. out of 120, and it was all based on
Yeah, just
electric
the-
and efficiency.
Most of your projects, right?
This-
Is it-
Not yet, no, no, I'm expecting the other 40 to come by December. Yeah,
Okay.
we should be bronze.
And what happens
soon.
when we're bronze? We
Oh,
get a
we
medal?
got another newspaper article. It's all good. They put another
You can't
zero
live
on
on
my,
the
they
newspapers.
put another zero on my check, my paycheck.
In the front of
It's
it.
in the front, yeah, but left of the decimal, it's okay.
Get grant opportunities for that.
Yeah, the grant opportunities, our bond rating, they look at a lot of things. And I gotta say, I sat with Sally Rowland, she's the DEC organics person up in Albany. She is as personable and as real gets. I mean, she brought 4 or 5 of her regional people. Syed was not there from Long Island, but we asked questions. And they say, oh, Long Island, they go like this all the time. It's like, it's a hard place to be. But, you know, but they wanna help.
I know Syed, he's a good guy.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
haven't started working with him,
Yeah.
right? We haven't even started. I'm trying to keep him off to the side, right? Don't make him too busy too soon, right? Because we can handle this. We can do this kind of thing on our own, right? We don't need permits. Oh, we need a registration. And Sally had announced back a ways. Sorry, we don't need much, and it's free. Sally had mentioned that it's free. That's the other thing too. Permitting, actually, they're giving permits away for these things now too, right? So they're not looking for money. They want this job done. They want it done, and they're very helpful. I mean, you can call them on the phone. I followed up on the greenhouse gas inventory thing with them eventually, got a hold of the right people. So they're accessible, they're available. Andrew Mannett over at Malloy, this Sustainability Institute, is also paid by NYSERDA to help us. Not with this kind of thing, but with electricity and emissions and that sort of thing. But we'll be reducing our emissions for every pound that we pull out, we're saving a pound of CO2 from the incinerator, right? Landfill is twice as much, it's methane, or we're not so concerned. But we are shipping stuff out of, C&D is 80% at least every day is going to 350 miles away to Ohio to Pennsylvania. I have aerial maps of the dumps, they're empty quarries that they're just shoving stuff into, right? So we'll be talking about C&D next year. I'm gonna be getting into the recovery and reuse on that. And that's
Well, we're
another
gonna
money.
see you in Shark Tank soon?
Shock tank, yeah. Yeah, I'm already in shock. That's what I'm gonna be. You asked me if I knew about paralysis. Yeah, I know about paralysis. Oh, paralysis. Oh, that's right.
Paralyzers.
Paralyzers, yes.
Pyrolyzers, yes.
Paralyzers, that's right, and tasers for trash. So, thank you.
All right.
I'm guessing it's a yes, but I'm
Good.
gonna go.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll,
Yeah,
can you guys make up a flyer? We can send it out to
Yeah,
everyone.
it's already
and we'll
done.
publicize and
Yeah, we have it. We have it ready to
send
roll.
everything go
Yep,
out for you guys,
absolutely.
put it on the
please.
website.
Yep.
Mention it to Devin, and
Yep.
she'll do a
Yeah,
little
there's a-
write-up.
there's a
Devin, we're
press
doing this.
release there
It's-
for
How am I
your
doing?
review.
She's still
Oh,
here?
okay, good.
Devin left.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
here, okay, good.
And,
I've notified Devin.
We can make an announcement. There's a town board meeting next Tuesday, so we
Yep.
can make an announcement there. So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
work on
sure,
it. Just
thank you.
work with our office, we'll get it
Yeah,
out there.
thank you.
How many buckets are you ordering with the 2,000?
All right, so there's a break point. Good question. The money guy, right? Yeah, okay. 5 it's 5.
We all say yes.
It's right. So there's a hand behind the back, right? So they're $5.75 a piece at 300, and if you buy 600, they're 5 1/4. The shipping is free. We talked to Rod Muir. He's like in charge of these buckets in Canada, and we can get them freight prepaid. And East Hampton will buy some of them with us. They'll take 200 like that. So if we only buy 300, then they'll take 150. We take 150 until we need more. Beth and I decided last night that not to go for the 600 right off the bat, right? Because it's just, you're saving 50 cents, right? So maybe 6 months from now, we'll be sorry we didn't spend the extra $350. But I don't know whose office these are gonna go in. Yours, right?
Sure,
Yeah, my garage, all right? I already have these in my garage, right?
No room for your car?
No, not anymore. My wife said, "One of these," I'm getting that at home too, so.
So you're starting off with 300 buckets?
Yeah, we're gonna start with 300 for sure, and we know that we can use the first 100 for us, and that East Hampton will take 200. So we're not expecting to not recover the money, right? 1995, today only.
No, but I think the buckets is actually gonna be a good head count of participation
Yep.
level in the town,
Yep.
so.
Yep, and even if people don't, I don't know, we didn't talk about if somebody shows up with food scraps and they wanna put them in your bucket, but they're from Brookhaven, oh my God, right?
Okay. Oh, yeah, pretty much we're accepting everyone.
I
Yeah,
would.
why
I mean,
wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Right,
mean,
as
why
long as they're not
wouldn't
in plastic, Wonder Bread bags.
yeah, as
Right.
long as
Right.
the stuff's not contaminated.
Right, yeah, we're gonna be very strict about the contamination, I mean, that's a big thing. But we did the Southold thing, 4 years ago now? 3 years ago, and, we weighed the 3.5 gallon buckets by hand every day at Jim Bunchick's place. And we pulled them all out ourselves and put them into a green, landscaper's barrel at Trieber Farm, because he was taking everything, he was taking bones, he
Smart,
was taking
he's
everything.
smart.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And we had no plastic forks. 0. Out of 1,100 pounds of food scraps, we had 0 contamination. Not a label off an avocado, nothing. So when people source separate, and when they have a skin in the game, these are the early adopters. These are the people who are gonna be really conscientious. When we get to the other 11,000, that's a whole different discussion. So, but
Taking eggshells in them?
absolutely, love eggshells. Coffee grinds, yeah.
A lot of people throw eggshells away.
Dick.
Valley behind it. Yeah, people don't know.
I wanna go to the deli, what do they have, eggs and coffee, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like right huge, so
Yeah, but it
the other
shows
thing
every
we're gonna run downtown, we might have a central drop-off downtown at some point really soon, by the end of the year as well, and just get the restaurants to put us, the coffee grinds.
I think
in
it's
there.
gonna be viable to be successful that there's drop-offs throughout the town.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
we need to find
Yep.
them from Wading River to Jamesport.
Yep, yeah, center, a central location, not here necessarily. We're gonna be manning them, obviously, from 7 to 3:30 every day. They're not unmanned, we know what the problems are with that. They've got locks on them, so people aren't dumpster diving through them. We've heard a lot from the industry. Sorry, gotta go.
Thanks, guys.
Gotta go.
Is he ever gonna shut up?
Thank you, Drew.
I got the look.
We have a Zoom call at 1, and we got a long
Super Bowl?
Zoom call at 1 and a long executive session, so.
Okay, sorry. Hey, thanks for your time, everybody.
Thank you for your time,
you.
appreciate it.
Make sure Alec gets a picture of that.
Kind
for
words, yeah.
Amazing, an amazing man.
the-
We've
for the
got-
ribbon. Alec, get a
Thank
picture
you
of that.
for
for the logo.
putting all that work into it.
That's all right.
Really,
Thank
it's
you.
good.
Thank you
Mark.
very much.
Very
He's
good.
He's
gonna
got-
take a picture for the logo.
Yeah, I'll send you pictures.
He took them already.
Okay,
Ahead of the-
thank you, Drew, and Devin, can you please come forward? Good. Thank you.
Can you come forward again? No.
Yeah, she, right on target. Thank you. Can you please read the resolutions for today?
Sure. Resolution number 1, awards funding from the CDBG 2019 COVID CARES Act Round 3. Number 2, appoints a seasonal water treatment plant operator 2B. Number 3, assumes lead agency status, issues negative declaration pursuant to SECR for the site plan application of Tomcat Realty Holdings LLC, 901-932 Scott Avenue, Calverton, Suffolk County, tax map number 600-135-135.2-1-1. Number 4, schedules a public hearing and authorizes the town clerk to publish and post for a public hearing for the site plan application of Tomcat Realty Holdings, where we just discussed. Number 5, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with the County of Suffolk Office for the Aging, AAA Transportation Program. Number 6, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from Suffolk County Office for the Aging to supplement the town's residential repair program for the elderly. Number 7, ratifies settlement of legal action against the owners, tenants, and occupants of premises located at 769 Harrison Avenue, Riverhead, New York. Number 8, ratifies the appointment of a recreation aide to the Recreation Department. Number 9, reappoints Jean Marie Costello to the Board of Ethics. Number 10, reappoints John Lombardi to the Board of Ethics. Number 11, reappoints Donna Barnard to the Board of Ethics. Number 12, reappoints Audrey Zaweski to the Board of Ethics. Number 13, appoints member to the Board of Ethics. Number 14, adopts final scope and accepts draft environmental impact statement, DEIS, for the site plan application of 201-213 East Main Street mixed-use building, 203-213 East Main Street, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County, tax map number 600-129-1-17, 18, 19, and 20. Number 15, schedules combined public hearing for the site plan application and draft environmental impact statement of 203-213 East Main Street mixed-use building at the location we just talked about. Number 16, appoints a town personnel officer. Number 17, authorizes supervisor to execute an agreement with Island Exterior Fabricators. Number 18, accepts the resignation of an automotive equipment operator. Number 19, accepts the resignation of an automotive equipment operator. Number 20, classifies site plan application of 426 West Main Street, mixed-use buildings as Type 1 action pursuant to SECRA, and requests lead agency status for the purpose of coordinated SECRA review, 426 West Main Street and 116 Sweezy Avenue, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-128-2-10 and 14.1. Number 21, awards bid for clean and televised sewer tributary to the Cranberry Pump Street Pump Station. Number 22, awards bid for lubricants. Number 23, awards bid for street light and traffic signal maintenance repair parts. Number 24, extends bid for annual fire and security alarm contract. Number 25, Water District Capital Project 82309, The View, 426 West Main Street, budget adoption. Number 26, appoints a cultural affairs supervisor. Number 27.
Yeah, what is that?
So this is she was provisional until now. This is going to make Rebecca your permanent and remove the provisional status of your cultural affairs supervisor. She's over in rec. She's been provisional until now, until she was
Rebecca
reachable.
Adams Corn.
Yes. We can have Ashley come in and expound upon that further if you wish.
I think that she was here a minute ago.
Okay, maybe Debbie can track down Ashley and we can bring her in. In the meantime, we'll just continue and we'll come back to it. How's that? Okay? Number 27, authorizes code enforcement officers to attend noise enforcement certification training. Number 28, declares 201 Howell Avenue, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-127-4-34 as obsolete and surplus property and authorizes sale together with publish and post advertisement for the sale of 201 Howell Avenue, subject to permissive referendum. Number 29, authorizes purchasing technician to attend local government procurement in New York virtual seminar. Number 30, amends terms and conditions of employment of town attorney and deputy town attorneys. And number 31, appoints a planner. I think we have Ashley here.
Ashley?
Very excited about Second Street.
Yeah, that's We're not paying the bills or what?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right, we're
little
not
month.
paying the
I
bills.
have another question if there afterwards on one of those.
April's a no-bill month.
No bills on it.
It's like every once in a while you get 3 paychecks in a month, that's no-bills month.
Hi.
Yeah, right.
Actually, get closer to the
Double
mic.
dipping, Bill.
They're just looking for further clarification and explanation of the cultural affairs supervisor. That's the resume.
Okay, so the Cultural Affairs Supervisor is currently held by Rebecca Adams Corn. She was appointed provisionally back in 2021. Her test was finally given this past fall. So this resolution would be removing the provisional status and making her permanent.
Good, very good. Thank you, Ashley.
I just have one question on the, one resolution, with excellent work by the town attorney's office, but ratifies settlement of legal action against the owners and tenants and occupants. 769 Harrison Avenue. So just wanted to talk about that. They did great work, bringing in $20,000. I just think that, I know that they've struggled with their computer systems in their office, and a program that potentially, maybe we can start taking like a win like this in terms of the money in which they received in the settlement and advocate to have it, put forth within their own office to upgrade their own system so they can continue to do work like this as opposed to it going into the general funds. I just think something like that should be allocated to the office in which earned it, received it, and then it could turn into more financing down the road. So I don't know if the town attorney wants to speak about it at all, or any comments on my thoughts.
Bill? You want to add to it? Because we're talking about directing funds that go to the general fund. The reason the funds go to the general fund is to help support the rest of the town, and
know, but-
a lot
but-
of components.
But this was,
So-
this was essentially money that was not allocated in the budget, so I don't, you know, I don't say it's found money, it was
So
worked on and they
everything
earned
they
it.
collected fines goes back to their office?
That's not what that's not what I'm saying at all, Supervisor, I'm talking about this
just wanna make
particular
sure.
project.
We
This
asked
is
the town attorney to
$20,000.
come up and make a comment.
Okay,
What's that?
we will. The
We
town
asked the
attorney?
town attorney to make some
Yep.
comments.
Can you
Okay,
make
I
the
mean,
comment?
in a general sense, I would very much appreciate that. There's some law practice management software that I had a virtual interview or presentation with Thomson Reuters Westlaw last year. I think it would be something that would improve the organization and workflow in the office. So, I mean, this wasn't necessarily something that I had thought of, but we do have several of these cases going. I think we've settled one or two before this one. So if the board would be amenable to directing that to get that practice management software, that would be fantastic.
And so, not to put Eric on the spot, he wasn't asking me about it, but I know from prior conversations with the office that they've struggled with some of the software. You managed to get this done, I'm just thinking that maybe this is a component to allow that office to get some upgrades to continue doing work
And we
just
could,
like this.
Just like we're doing the upgrade to the, to a couple of departments like accounting and, building across the street. So when the money goes into the fund, we say we gotta find the money, and then he goes to the budget officer and myself, and he would say, and you did say that you wanted that software last year, which I thought was a
Right.
good idea. And he'll say, I need the software, we made this amount of money, and we say, okay, you brought that in. But we do that normally, like administratively, between, the financial advisor and myself, that's part of the budgeting.
I kind
So-
of would like to hear from my fellow board members on their thoughts. of
But it will,
that-
yeah.
We're here all together.
Yeah.
I
This is
agree,
awesome.
Eric, I have a question. Would this be something we could, we're working on code revision with surcharges? Is there something that, could surcharges be added to this where that then would be the money that would go?
So, all right, so that's a little bit separate. In the code revision meetings, we have been crafting and reviewing a potential amendment to the town code to impose surcharges on certain town code violations, which would be, a smaller amount of money in addition to the fine that would then go to a fund that the town board would establish for the purpose of, for a specific purpose, right? So in other towns, they have a surcharge fund that deals with water quality improvement, blight mitigation funds, things like that.
Right, so any town codes issued, there would be a surcharge attached to those town codes that would go back specifically for the water fund or specifically for building and planning or blight fund or whatever it terms to be. I'm just wondering if we could do something similar to that on this. This is not a town code, though.
I mean, I think generally with the surcharges, you'd want that to go to a more directed public purpose. With something like this, if it, if there was a way to allocate it specifically for, so like the law practice management software, for instance, is, there's a one-time fee associated with them building it for us. And then, I don't remember the exact numbers, but then there's an annual or monthly payment cost. So if something like this, settlement funds here could be used to address the one-time build cost for something like that, if the board was, amenable to that,
Okay,
I think
but,
that would be great for
all right,
the
There
office.
is a budget process here, right, and there's a budget, and
This
just
is
like.
not coming from Eric, you're directing to, this is something that I'm
No, no, yeah.
suggesting to reinvest in
Well,
this
we are,
specific
and then there's a
department.
resolution, we discuss it, he
And that's
tells
what
us
we're
the
doing.
software, right, and then a resolution will come up, and the money goes right into the
I
general
wasn't
fund.
attempting to interfere with Eric's budget process, I'm just saying
No,
that we have
the
this.
town's budget process. So-
I have a question.
But it's the same thing, it's gonna get done. So it's the same dog with a different chain. We'll get it done through the budget process. When funds come in from different allocations, we already spoke about that. I thought it was a great idea, for him to have because we need to get upgraded. He thought it would be very efficient, he mentioned to me.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we
it would-
want that, and to let it take its course.
Can I ask
I
a
was just
question?
suggesting he did great work in his office, and I was trying to reinvest the funds in that office so
Yes,
they
we
can
are.
continue to do great things like this.
Okay.
Thank you for your
But
work.
it goes to the general fund.
I appreciate
Where
that,
it should
thank
go.
Stay there, I have
Okay,
a
great.
question.
Yes, a question.
Yes.
All right, so, out of curiosity, what's the cost of the software?
Figures.
Yeah, the cost of the software, I don't recall off the top of my head. I think there was a one-time build cost of maybe $12,000 to $14,000.
And the annual on it?
And then the annual was, I don't remember off the top of my head. It was maybe 800 to 1,000 a month or something. In any event, whatever quote they
No, it
gave
doesn't,
me,
though. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with.
whatever,
resolution, so-
whatever quote they gave me, Bob, last year, I would have to have a.
Just give us what you have.
I'll talk about it.
Well, I would have to have a subsequent conversation with them to see what, if anything's
can talk
changed.
about that later.
And again, I mean, this was back in maybe May or June of last year, so
Absolutely.
okay.
I'll discuss it
We're
with you.
upgrading other units, and this is where I'm actually going into executive session now, so, but absolutely, it's a good
not
idea,
concerned
and
about
we'll
that.
direct the funds where they,
problem.
you know, when they come in. appropriately.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Software or not that he has
Okay.
now, and whether OpenGov has.
Okay, everyone,
I'll
this
talk
concludes our discussion items for today, and in a moment, I'm gonna ask for a first and a second to go into executive session. We have a lengthy, executive session. The first matter concerns litigation, Frank Isla, matter surrounding update on pending litigation between the Riverhead Sewer District and Suffolk County, and matter surrounding possible litigation between the town of Riverhead and the Vale Levitt Music Hall. Contractual, matter surrounding changes to agreement between the town of Riverhead and RXR. Also, matter surrounding possible purchase of real estate property. Also, matter surrounding possible change of terms and conditions for employees. Also, matter surrounding the change in status of an employee. Also, matter surrounding change of terms and conditions for an employee. And that's it. So can I have a first and a second to go into executive session, please?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Everyone, please stay safe and enjoy the day.
Could edit.